As a veteran, small business owner, what can we do for you?
What we can all do for all veteran business owners is promote each other.
My main mission was to look at tools of technology to leverage small business and give them more of a competitive advantage.
My mission for Veteran Bargains is very simple: to help vets.
That story in itself, to run for Vista City Council, is a journey.
I think this is an opportunity to really collaborate with those gone before us.
It's really kind of a labor of love.
And now your host.
Good afternoon. Happy Friday. Welcome to the show. We've missed you. We miss you and our guest. So thank you so much for joining us again. We took last week a little bit of time to honor our 9/11 veterans in all of our events, A Day to Remember. But we're glad to be resuming our normal activities today and programming for this week. And so in the back, I want to acknowledge our producer, Michael Woods, our CEO and founder, Joseph Molina, and our social media engagement manager, Dali Rivera. Our sponsor for today is Drone Avilate, where you can explore multiple areas of business development to include remote pilot certifications so that you can learn what it takes to become and fly drones and also make a living at it. So just know that this veteran radio show features military veterans, spouses, and community leaders while exploring heroism, leadership while they're making it happen. So, and one of our special guests today who is really making it happen and making a difference out in our community is a U.S. veteran. She is the CEO of Healing Heroes, LLC. She's a veteran advocate, a certified trauma support specialist, and an MST survivor. Linsey Daley shows survivors that there is hope in healing after trauma, and that healing is no linear. It's okay to struggle. We all struggle, especially during these uncertain times, and those feelings are valid and completely normal. So without further ado, let me welcome Linsey Daley. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you, Linsey. So how is your Friday so far taking off?
It's been good. It's been quiet, so nice.
Yeah, so I'm happy that you are here with us, and thank you for coming and supporting us, and sharing with us your incredible work that you're doing out in the community, and also share with us your trajectory as a U.S. Navy veteran. So, and with that, I would like to jump into our very first question that we always love to dive into our veteran community, and you can share with us what is the first story that comes to mind about your military service, or better yet, one thing that I'm curious is why did you choose the Navy?
So I chose the Navy because my dad was in the Navy, and we grew up our entire lives in Europe. My mom's from the UK, so we spent our whole life in Europe. So I wanted to come to the US, but I was scared to just come over and be like, oh, here I am just living in the States. So I chose to join the Navy because I knew it would be like a safe, comfortable way to come over and experience that. And so the first story that would come to mind probably for me is leaving Europe and taking that flight to boot camp to Chicago. And it was terrifying. I was so nervous and scared, and the anxiety of it. And it was just my first time really coming over to the States since I was 7. But then my first time flying by myself, and it being such a long flight was terrifying. And then trying to find the USO in Chicago here. So.
Wow. So you literally flew in just to join boot camp, and your first experience in the U.S. was all just your military, you're finding your way in.
It was, yeah.
Wow, that's really courage. Wow, all by all means, right there, because you're coming completely new, even though probably because you grew up with your dad as a Navy veteran as well. And so you probably knew a little bit more of that lingo and the discussions and identifying with that particular service branch. But to take off completely, I guess you can say, on a company and come to a new country and take a whole exploration of the military, by all means, that's really great. That's a really great, powerful wording right there, to explore new careers at a new level. So thank you so much for that. Now, I know that right now you're currently very active out in our community through healing process with survivors of trauma, and you created yourself a nonprofit, right? Healing Heroes. Tell me about your company, that you currently have, that you lead, and maybe perhaps some challenges or some success stories that you have experienced as you came
Yeah.
up with this particular project.
So it's actually an LLC. It's not a nonprofit, but so Healing Heroes, I started it to provide, services for hope and healing to victims of military sexual trauma. With myself being a survivor of military sexual trauma, I saw the toll that it took on my life and my transition out of the military and just everything that encompassed in that. So I really wanted to provide a space for men and women that was safe, that helped them feel comfortable where they were at, and just really showed them that there is hope and healing after the trauma, that's not the end of your story.
That is. Thank you for sharing your personal story. And I'm sure that you have a lot of um, personal connection that you have with a lot of these individuals as well, that you personally connect with through your work. And with that, also with how does that tie in with your company's mission or your personal mission that has really ramped your goal to find more individuals who are going through this particular trauma?
How has my trauma helped that?
Your personal mission, yeah.
So I was able to understand where people are coming from and like what they are feeling and what they're going through. And that just really like pushed me into what I'm doing right now. So for me, when I was transitioning, I decided to get out of the military at 14 years because I had undiagnosed PTSD, and I just wasn't coping at all. And so I thought the best way for me to really heal was to get out and start processing all those things that I was holding on to. And for me, that was through meditation. So meditation cracks me wide open to really like show all those areas that I really needed to look at and process instead of hiding behind like medication or drinking problems or eating disorders, just coping skills that weren't healthy. And once I realized that worked really well for me, I just didn't want to keep it to myself. I thought it'd be really selfish to not share with other people how I was able to come out the other side of that.
That's great. That's really powerful that you were able to identify those particular strengths within your process, your healing process, so that you could really take on and support others just like you who may experience this. Now, with this particular mission that you have yourself and set out yourself to help others, what is if you mentioned through meditation, what is one technique that you share with us that really works well for others that you have seen that any of us could actually just take on and help us, especially right now during these uncertain times, that we can adapt? So you can share with us. Give us a freebie one.
Yeah, for sure. So in the classes that I have in the support groups, we talk a lot about mindfulness. So not just meditation, sitting down quietly, because a lot of people have a hard time sitting there for 30 minutes, quieting their mind and really getting into it. So we talk a lot about mindfulness starting, and it's just bringing yourself back to the here and now. So when we talk about depression and anxiety, we're really, anxiety is thinking too far forward. So like, what do I have to do tonight? Did I get dinner out? What am I going to do with the kids? All the things that you're just rushing sends your body into that anxiety mode. And then depression is thinking too much of the past. So why didn't I? I should have done better. I could have said this. So I use the example of when I'm washing dishes, and this is a technique that I got from a really good friend and mentor of mine, Sherry, but I use this example of washing dishes because usually I don't like washing dishes. And so I usually let my mind race, right? Who likes washing dishes? And I usually let my mind kind of race at that point because I'm like, oh, such a mundane task. Ugh. And then I start thinking of all the other things. So I started training my brain to come back to the now every time I catch that. And it used to be like 15 minutes of full conversation in my head about the things I could have done or that I need to be doing until I started catching it and thinking, and I'll tell myself, okay, what does this water feel like? This water is warm. What do I hear right now? I hear the water hitting the basin, or maybe my kids screaming in the background, or cartoons, whatever it is. And then what can I see? So my sink faces a big window or a back window. And so I usually will look outside to see like my garden or the things, that kind of make me happy in that way. So it's just retraining your brain back to the here and now, and like going back to those senses that grounds you into not having that panic attack or forcing yourself into that anxious space.
I love that. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that, because that's a perfect good example, for anyone, especially right now during these uncertain times. We are, I think it's some way or another, we're all experiencing that anxiety. And it wasn't until a beautiful friend of mine who is actually watching right now, and I'm going to acknowledge her comment in a little bit later, that she shared with me, because I am your typical non-meditating body, because I cannot sit still, right? I have so much energy. I have to be always thinking. And she was like, you probably have a lot of trauma on you that you don't want to sit still to think about it. And I was like, I don't know about that, but I love that you are taking that example of our day-to-day, like the dishes, and being mindful of your day-to-day and your thoughts and everything, and really putting it in perspective, that it makes a difference as you evaluate your day, and you really get out of that mindset where you are really probably making yourself, being so hard on yourself for things that sometimes are beyond your control. Now let's talk a little bit about your growing up. You mentioned you came to the U.S. As you were joining the boot camp, and then of course as you explore your transition out of the military, we go through a lot of learning cubes and a lot of learning episodes through our grown up years. But what is one thing that you wish you had known before that you know now, that you will tell yourself now through your meditation or through your current work?
So I guess I wish I would have known all the resources there were for transitioning veterans. And I wish I would have known just how much is out there to help you transition. And I wish I would have known how lonely it was going to be to transition out of the Navy. I mean, people say it, but I didn't really feel it until I was actually going through it. But there's just such a wealth of knowledge, especially through LinkedIn. I have met most of the people that I partner with or that I'm working with through LinkedIn. And so I just really wish that the transition process had more information about all the programs that are out there.
It is very overwhelming, but it's also in a good way, right? We have a lot of abundance of resources, and it's so many similarities, and that's why we have this particular program and this activity, so that we can unify, and we are not all floating in silos, and we actually connect individuals. So I know that we have had guests who have very similar work what you do, and so that would be a great way for them to connect with you as well as you connect with them, and then start making all these great synergies and collaborate for the better good of the veteran community. So that's really great. Thank you. Now, what is one action item that you're currently doing for your business that you would love to share those aspiring to become or do work similar such as yours? What is one action item, one great tip, or one great piece of advice that you can tell those that are trying to do something similar, or any other veteran business?
Don't be afraid to fail, because there's no perfect time to do this. Like, go for it now. Just dive in, because through failure, there's growth. And we were actually talking about this in a group this morning. I tried to start my business a few years ago now, and it failed the first time. It horribly failed because I was not in the right place of mind to start at that point. But I also learned so many things through that failed effort that have really pushed my business into the place that it is now. So don't be scared, and just go for it.
That's great. And I'm glad that you reiterate that be afraid to fail, because that is really a great learning experience. That's one of the best learning experience, I think, sometimes for a lot of entrepreneurs or a lot of small business owners, is when you have that, just you hit bottom and you're like, oh wait, but that's not what it was in my business plan, right? That's not written in my business plan. I'm not supposed to fail. But it is actually one of the best ways that you can reshape and reorganize your thought process and relaunch in a more effective way. So that is great advice. And so I'm going to take Linsey right now a little time to acknowledge our sponsor. Drone Aviate, where you can explore multiple areas of business development, to include if you have that desire need to become and learn how to fly drones. They are definitely the source to go to. So be part of Drone Aviate, where they can get a certification, how to become a pilot certified drone. Yeah, better yet, make a living at it. Make sure that you make it a business, and we can definitely help you with that. And so that's one of the things that I really encourage you to go, because that is the biggest thing right now in business development, as well as a new, very flexible career from which is Drone Aviate. Flying drones is a really hot out there in the industry, and it pays very well. So that's, and then for those are joining us right now, I want to recap real quick and say that we're talking to Linsey Daley, a U.S. veteran and CEO of Healing Heroes. She's been featured in the San Diego Women's Magazine, Airman to Mom, Women of the Military podcast, Courage to Fight Again, Story of Your Podcast. And Linsey teaches others on a one-on-one group mindfulness class with a short meditation and a 12-week process. So, Linsey, tell me, how do individuals can get involved with your teaching and with your work? If somebody's experiencing right now extreme anxiety, or they simply see value of your service, how can they get involved?
So they can reach out to me through email, or my website, or through LinkedIn. And I offer classes online and in person in the local area. So I'm in Temecula, so local would be like Temecula, San Diego, but I'm not going to LA, guys. So yeah, those are the different ways to get a hold of me. And we offer free peer support groups every Friday evening.
Now, how has this COVID situation impacted your business approach and delivery of your services? Are you offering anything virtually as well?
I am offering virtual as well. And the COVID situation actually had me pivot my business. And so I was scared to go online, and I'm thankful that I did, because I've been able to reach people all over the world, brothers and sisters in arms that are overseas or that are here in the US, but just not local. So it's actually been, dare I say, like a blessing for my business. So yeah.
I agree with you. And I always tell people very cautiously too. I said, if there's anything positive about COVID, it's the fact that we have been able to really pivot our messaging, and for many, many different nonprofits or many small businesses, and really pivot their support or the services, and be able to reach, more, I guess you can say, more prospects, more constituents, more clients, however you want to look at your particular, your range, to provide services and do it more in a national level, and really reach more better audiences that otherwise you would have been just boxed in into your local community. So that's the only thing positive about COVID. Other than that, there's a lot of things that we can certainly discuss, but I want to take the time now to acknowledge some comments. And so Rosie Chavez, who is watching us, thank you for joining us. That's a great story too. She wants to be, so you definitely want to connect with Rosie. She's also Navy. That's my friend who I was talking to about earlier too. So that's great that she is actually here watching. And Tammy Lyons, she says hi from San Diego. He's Temecula is awesome, so he's still there watching. So thank you. And Dali was I use service now or virtual or both, and I think we cover that. So you're doing all different services. You do it virtually, and I'm sure once you're able to in person, you're going to expand to a lot more. And by all, I think you're going to end up probably flying and having multiple different areas of expand your work ability. So that let's hope for that. One thing, Ralph, I know that you mentioned earlier when we were discussing as you were coming on, that you have events coming up, right? So can you share with us what is one thing or anything that you would like for us to know that you're currently working on, that you would like to promote, and we can help you with that as well?
Yeah, of course, there's two different things I'll share. One is the free support group on Friday nights. I would love to have anyone that's a survivor or still struggling victim show up to those support groups. It's Friday night, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and it's online through Zoom. So if you go to my website, which is Healing Tech Heroes, it's HEROS.com, then you'll find a groups page. You can click on that and sign up. So we do every week is a different thing. So some weeks we'll do journaling, other weeks we'll do meditation. Some weeks we'll have guest speakers. So it's just very healing and powerful in that group. So if you want to join us, link up with us, and I'd be happy to have you. And the other thing that I wanted to mention is we are partnering with our Sisters Keeper, and we are doing a peaceful protest here in Temecula at the Temecula Duck Pond on October 3rd at 10 a.m. And it's really to bring awareness to everyone that is here in the local area and around about what's going on with the Vanessa Guillen Act that's been proposed. So we just want to bring awareness to that, have people call their senators, and try to get that passed. So that's what we'll be doing October 3rd at 10 a.m. Temecula Duck Pond.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I know that Melissa's Guillen story was very, very heartbreaking for a lot of us who identify with her story, or just in general because of cultural identification, as well as because of the service, and because we're all women and we all need to be supporting each other when it comes to some of those situations. So thank you that you are taking a step forward and really advocating on behalf of Vanessa and everyone out there who has gone through this trauma. So thank you so much, Linsey, for your work. And I want to acknowledge a comment from Tiffany from Temecula. It says the Army veteran in South Carolina have benefited from Linsey's business. So thank you so much for that. Thank you, Tiffany, for sharing your comment. Thank you. And then, Linsey, I told you earlier, and I shared with everyone today that you have been featured in the San Diego Women's Magazine, as well as you were part of the Women of the Military podcast, the Courage to Fight. So what are all of these? First of all, what did the San Diego Women Magazine feature in? What did that feel for you? And how did that came about?
So that was actually a few years ago, the San Diego Women's Magazine. I think that was the first time I've actually written parts of my story to share publicly. So it was terrifying, but it was also kind of freeing to be able to put that out there. I was sharing some work that I was doing with a nonprofit that I'm no longer affiliated with. So a lot of it was just some of that work with a local nonprofit and just kind of sharing bits and pieces of my story through that magazine.
That's great. So maybe right now especially right now with the current events, it's a good timing to revisit and reshare a lot of your great experience and your growth, as well as your impact maybe with others. So that's great that you have that particular experience and we're able to, maybe at that time when things were a little more silent about these situations, maybe you made an impact for other people. So Daley wants to know if your services are only for women only.
No, they're not just for women. In fact, most of my clients are men, which was shocking to me when I first started. But I would say 80% of my clients right now are men. So we provide services for men and women. And
are the service, also you offer the same approach that you would do for women as for men. You also have the 12-week and the short meditation mindfulness classes and the one-on-ones as well, correct?
Yes.
Great. Okay. Thank you. And what is the future projects for you? What are you doing in the near future that you have a big project coming up besides the current events that you just shared with us? What is one major goal that you have coming for 2021? I think we're all ready to be done with 2020.
We're ready.
That's why I keep asking. Yeah, that's what I ask everyone. What is your goal for 2021? And then there's 4 months left.
No, yeah. I actually just sat down to do my goal, the plan for next year. And the biggest goal is to put together and offer a retreat. So it would be nutrition services, meditation, hiking, just all the feel-good services that we want to put into it. So right now I'm looking at the West Coast for that retreat and just trying to get that set up.
That's amazing. That's amazing. We want to help you. We want to help you promote that. So as soon as you have some dates or you have some solid way or approach or format that you are going to launch that, let us know, because that's what we do. We want to make sure that we help you put it out there for everyone. And I want to acknowledge Daley's comment in a little bit, but that's a really great way for you to really reach a much bigger audience. And I think we all need that. I think after this year is over, we're all definitely going to need to get together with peers and get together and go over our recent experience, as well as any other issues that might have been out there that part of COVID perhaps might have trigger an additional intensity of our anxiety. So I'm really looking forward to that and making sure that we are promoting and helping that. And so I'm going to acknowledge here Dali's comment. It says, "Wow, it's great that men are seeking help." And by all means, I also want to applaud for them and encourage them that it's such a great that they are seeking help, because I know we are it could be sometimes looked at as a very biased society, and there are certain things that women are supposed to do and certain things men are supposed to do, but I'm glad that it's being all inclusive. So thank you for that comment, Dali. So Ms. Linsey, is there anything else that we can do for you? And if you can please share with us again, how can we get a hold of you?
Thank you so much for having me on the show today. The best way to get a hold of me is through my email, which is healing, HEALING, .heroes, HEROES.LLC@gmail.com, or through my LinkedIn profile, which will be linked on the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, there it is. So it's linkedin.com. And then Linsey Daley, make sure that you find her. And is there anything else that we can do for you?
No, thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, we're really looking forward to that. And so I'm going to take right now just a quick pause to acknowledge our sponsor for today again, which is Drone Aviate, where you can explore multiple areas of business development to include how to become a pilot certified drone sort of enthusiast. So if you want to fly drones out there, because I think that's such a like the most funnest job out there. Wouldn't you like that to do that, Linsey?
I know that
see
would
that
be
in
pretty cool.
really cool, absolutely. But also make money on it. So definitely Drone Aviate, it's the best place to go. And then we're also going to highlight, and I want to invite you, Linsey, to help me with this. I'm going to highlight our hero spotlight for today, Dave Des Rochers. So if we can acknowledge Dave, he is our hero spotlight for today. And so every Friday, we try to have someone local that we like to definitely push out a little bit of extra spotlight and acknowledge the great work that they're doing out in our community. And he's from PAT 2. And so we really appreciate what Dave is doing out in the community. And we look forward to maybe one day having him as a guest here at the show so he can share further what he does. But for now, we really just want to acknowledge the great work that he does. So thank you so much for that. And any last questions, last comments? I want to make sure that I bring them all on board. So if you can help me with that, Mike, if there's anybody out there that we miss, I want to make sure that I don't miss any one of those questions that we can share with everyone. And I think we were able to acknowledge that. Anything else? So, okay, we were expecting Joe to come back, but I think Joe might have gotten busy in the back, or he might be having some difficulties. But we just want to make sure that we acknowledge once again Healing Heroes LLC and all the great work that you're doing. And we want to thank you, Linsey, for coming over and visiting us and doing all the great work that you're doing. And we look forward to being connected with you and sharing your work out in our community. And then, make sure that we stay connected and we advocate for victims, who are experiencing this type of trauma, and make sure that everyone, knows that there's always someone out there who they can talk to, regardless of your gender. There's always someone out there to find help. And most importantly, find good techniques that will work for you to deal with this, but also that you know that you're not alone. So we really appreciate the work that you're doing, and we look forward to you sharing with us also additional techniques and exploring ways that you're doing. So thank you, Rosie, for watching. Thank you, Dali. And we're going to wrap it up and call this the Better Radio Show. Thanks so much for watching, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you. Thank you, Linsey.
Thank you.